What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a valve cover gasket change on this 97 Ford Ranger with the 4.0 V6. Now, I know this is a classic mini channel, and doing a work on what would be considered like a support vehicle in the classic mini scene, it's kind of like a little bait and switch, and a good classic mini YouTube channel wouldn't do that. Right? But if you think this is like a really good classic mini channel, you might want to take a look at your preferences. Anyway, I just wanted to do this in part because I couldn't find a video on this, and I did, but it was like two drunk guys like cussing and arguing with each other, which was kind of entertaining, but I didn't really get a feel for like how the whole job went. But somewhere in here there's a V6 and it's leaking everywhere from the valve cover gaskets, and we're going to fix that. All right, so here is the top of the engine. As you can see, we can't even really see, focus, can't even really see the valve covers down there, but we know they're down there. So I think order of business number one is going to be getting this intake manifold off. So that's what we're going to work on there. Alright, first update here. I went ahead and dropped the throttle body from the intake because it seemed to be caught up, and there's this vacuum line on the bottom that's extremely difficult to get to. So I figured just pop it off. Well, then when you lift up on the intake, it doesn't want to come up, and it feels like all this stuff over here is holding it down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a nut driver, and I'm going to take all this stuff off of the intake, and that way hopefully I can free it up. So it's going to be fun remembering where all these hoses and crap go, but is what it is, I guess. Alright guys, another update here. So I got most of this stuff off, just kind of unattached. Ooh, little burn there. There we go. Just kind of unattach these things, so just let them hang. Real pain in the butt, I'm blocking the light, was this guy here, this bit of harness, and it kind of runs along, it looks like it runs along the top of the valve cover, the actual wiring, and so where's the other part of it? I done lost it. No, here it is. There's like a cover on there and this 10mm bolt in the middle, and you got to keep, even though it doesn't feel like that bolt's doing anything, you got to keep turning it before you can pop that out. So it's like you'll sit here fighting it, going, oh, which one of these things is holding it in? Well, it's that stupid 10mm. All right, as you can see, I got the valve cover off, and as suspected, I mean, this thing is just all dry and nasty, and it's all got to come off. It was leaking really bad. Hard to self-film this because of how dirty this job is, but let's take a look in the engine bay. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the upper manifold off, right? Had to remove the drive belt, bring the air conditioner compressor over to the side, and I don't know if that's absolutely necessary actually, but this pipe really gave me an issue. Get focused on that. The thing is in the way, and it's a hard line that runs down to the exhaust manifold. So in order to pull the valve cover off, I got to kind of pull back on that, get it off, get it out of the way a little bit so that I can clear the valve train and get out. So that was fun. Alright, there's one side buttoned up. Time to move on to the other side. Alright, as you can see, once you get the alternator out of the way, you get a clear view of the, what are we doing here? Valve cover, right? So I can start to see some of the bolts here. Focus maybe so you can see them. Yeah. So you start to see some of the bolts. We have this coolant line running above it, but I really don't want to take that coolant line off and get coolant everywhere. So I think what I'm going to try to do is see if I can negotiate that guy out, kind of, sneak it out the back. So of course, I'm going to do the spark plugs while I'm in here. It only makes sense too. I mean, if you look at how much stuff I had to move out the way, and you know, these spark plugs, I already did the ones on the other side, and they look good for just being old. I mean, it looks like, from what I can tell, it's running right. They're not super wet or anything, and you know, doesn't look like there's oil all up inside the cylinder head, which is nice. So someone picked up a little debris on the way out. You know, not bad. Needs changed. Garage is a mess, as I got blown out mini engine all over the place. That's perfect. These didn't say they're pretty yet, but they are all correct. Oh man, I was like, why is that turning so easily? Okay, there we go. I bought this truck for $1,100, and I may or may not have gotten took. I see people all over the interwebs buying all these cheap cars and fixing them up. Just couldn't find a Ranger in that range, down below $1,000. And I thought, well, I can tell it needs valve cover gaskets. Who knows what else it might need. Yeah, see, that guy looks good, other than picking up a bunch of oil on the way out. Made that one. And it was leaking everywhere. Transmission has a little bit of a slip to it. I already did fluid filter. Feel around until you find the hole, and then go for it. But sometimes I feel like I'm my own worst enemy on these things, because I've been spending all this time on this damn truck when, you know, it needs work. But you know what? When we come out the other side, I got a semi-reliable truck that I didn't pay much for. It's emissions exempt, and it's a work truck. That's what I bought it for. 230,000 miles on it. But even with these ugly spark plugs and all this oil everywhere, starts on the first crank. Hopefully we get another 50, 60,000 out of it at least. I'll more than get my money worth out of it. Just did ball joints and new shocks all the way around, because the ride's rough. And the ball joints were completely shot. Did not feel safe going down the road, and hopefully that fixes it. Interior smells like Chiba, which is weird because marijuana just got legalized in Illinois, but I bought it before legalization. Can't explain that. It's weird. Tell you what, this passenger side is way easier to work on than the driver's side was. Knock some of the boogers away from this surface. Man, it's just dirty. Using these Valve Pro gaskets, one of the things I found is that they are in fact symmetrical for each side. You'll notice here, this looks close, like some of the holes are lined up, but these are off quite a bit down here. So it looks like this could be it, and it's real close. However, you actually flip the thing over and it lines up perfectly. So you guys might have known that, but that got me. Is drop this guy in the way I did the other side. Go ahead and put the gasket in place. Bring the cover down. Oh shoot, I'm getting coolant everywhere. Then just sort of get them together and then get them to the hole. One thing I do like about these older trucks is that when you inevitably drop your tools, they go all the way to the ground. When I was pulling them off, some of them were already loose, and I'm assuming that was simply a function of the fact that that other gasket was just so far gone. I don't know. But probably half of these bolts I could have taken off by hand. Big coolant hose. I think this stuff goes underneath it. See, yeah, it's got to. Oh, the history on these engines. Everything on it's metric. Weird. These are 13 millimeter. All right, guys, last bit here. In the kit that I got from Felpro, the gaskets, this came quite obviously a gasket for this upper intake manifold. That's what this is called. When I pulled it off, there was no manifold, no gasket in place. So this was just sitting directly on there. And so, I mean, it seems pretty obvious I ought to put this on, I suppose. So let's get this going. And another one of these where not exactly sure how it goes. Okay, it's got to go like this. This is that stupid hard line. You remember I was telling you when I was trying to pull this side out, the driver's side out, I had to like kind of pull back on that. It didn't bend it, thankfully, but it came back a little bit. That goes in this hole. Some sort of EGR system comes out and it points directly at the back of the throttle body. So I got to get that fed into there and get this set back on there at the same time. So let's try that. This fuel line, I think, is what this is, kind of in the way. But let's see what we can do. Alright. Too far forward for one thing. Put that in a little further. There. All right, guys. So that's the long and short of it. I'm sorry that when I started putting the upper intake back on, the video cuts out. I was having problems. I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't go back on. I thought it was that hard line coming out of the exhaust, that EGR line. Turns out Brilliance here had the engine harness was kind of up in the way, and so the intake was coming down on that. Other than that, it's really a straightforward job. It's a pain in the butt to do it, but I think it's going to be rewarding. Like I said, this is a work truck for me. It's going to, haul stuff from the junkyard when I go to start doing my VTEC conversion on the Mini. It's going to haul stuff for my real estate project that I'm working on. I'm starting another channel for that. And hopefully, it's an old truck, 230,000 miles on it. I make a little bit of maintenance on it, make sure she's running real nice. Maybe I can even sell it for a little bit more than I paid for it when, it's time to move on. I don't know. These guys run pretty good, and, parts are readily available, so see if we can keep this thing going. Anyway, like I said, sorry for pulling the old switcheroo on you guys and not doing a mini video. Next video is going to be putting the gearbox back together for the Moke. It's not really going to be a how-to because Classic Mini DIY has already kind of covered that. Actually, I'm going to have to look at his video first to figure out how to put the thing back together because I think it was like 2 years ago I took it apart. So, anyway, thanks for watching, guys.